Dinner didn't start with a question tonight. The fridge was already open when I walked in. Light on, cold air moving. He was looking inside, not at me. Containers shifted. One moved forward, a lid lifted. The hum of the fridge filled the space between us. I stopped a few steps from the counter. Didn't come closer. My hand brushed the edge of the sink as I passed it, then stayed there. Flat. Fingers resting against the surface. The counter felt cool under my palm. He reached in again, moved something to the side, looked behind it, like the answer was somewhere in the back. I waited, not for the food, for the moment before it started. The one that used to come without needing to think about it. The one that sat quietly between opening the fridge and choosing something. I didn't step forward, didn't speak. The space held, a second longer than it should have, then passed. He took out a container, set it on the counter, closed the fridge with his hip. The door sealed with a soft pull. The light disappeared. The kitchen dimmed just a little. He didn't turn, didn't pause, didn't look over to where I was standing. The container lid came off with a small pop. He set it beside the sink, close to my hand, but not close enough to touch. I looked at it, didn't move it, didn't open it further. The smell rose slightly, familiar, something we'd had before, something I usually added something to, or changed just a little. He reached for a plate, didn't check which one, just took the one on top of the stack, set it down next to the container. The sound soft, even, like it always was. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other, then back again. My hand stayed on the counter, not gripping, not moving, just there. Like it belonged to that spot for a moment longer than I did. The cabinet door closed, the drawer opened. Silverware shifted inside. A fork lifted, then another. He set them down on the counter without looking. Not toward me, just down. The rhythm of it all stayed the same sounds, the same movements. Only one thing didn't come. I didn't move closer, didn't step into it. I stayed by the sink, where the counter met the edge of the room, the place where I could see everything happening without being in it. The container sat open now, steam barely visible. He scooped something out, placed it onto the plate, not measuring, not adjusting, just placing. The spoon scraped against the side, a soft line drawn across plastic. I watched the plate fill, watched the space on the counter shift around it. The fork slid slightly when he moved the plate. A small sound, then still again. I didn't reach for it, didn't reach for anything. The sink behind my hand stayed empty. No dishes. No water running, just the faint smell of something clean left over from earlier. My fingers curled slightly against the edge of the counter, then relaxed. The air between us didn't change, didn't close, didn't ask to be filled. He picked up the plate, turned slightly, not toward me, just enough to move around the counter. Another plate came down beside it. Same motion, same placement. The space where something used to happen stayed open. I felt it for a second longer, then let it pass. I stayed by the sink a second longer than I needed to, my hand still resting on the counter. Fingers spread slightly, just there. The edge pressed lightly into my palm. I didn't move it away. My weight shifted to my left foot, then back again. A small adjustment, barely visible. The kind you don't notice until you stop doing it. I didn't step forward, not yet. There was still a space that hadn't closed, something that felt like it was about to happen, but didn't. He moved in the kitchen like he always did, opening drawers, closing them without looking, reaching for things without checking where they were. The rhythm was the same, nothing missing, nothing added, just continuing. I watched the second plate fill, same as the first, same portions, same sides, no pause between them, no difference between them. The spoon moved from one plate to the other, even, measured without measuring. He set the spoon down, not in the sink, not in a bowl, just on the counter, between the plates. I looked at it. The handle angled slightly toward me, close enough to reach. I didn't. My hand stayed where it was, the counter cool under my skin. My thumb moved once, a small shift, then still again. I took a breath, held it just a moment longer than usual, then let it out slowly. Not enough to be heard, just enough to notice. The plates sat side by side now, ready, waiting, but not for me. He picked one up, turned, set it down on the table, then the other. Same place they always went, same distance between them, aligned without looking. The chairs were already in place, pushed in, even, nothing out of line. He didn't look toward me, didn't pause before walking away, just moved into the next step, like something had already been decided, like there was nothing left to check. I stayed by the sink, the plates already set, the table already waiting. The space that used to sit between moments, gone now. I lifted my hand from the counter. The skin felt warmer where it had been resting. I flexed my fingers once, then let them fall to my side. I took one step forward, then another. Slow. Not because I was thinking, just because there was no reason to rush. The chair closest to me was slightly turned, not enough to notice unless you were looking for it. I reached for it. My hand stopped a few inches away, hovered, then lowered without touching it. I walked around it instead, took the seat on the other side, the one that didn't need to be adjusted. The plate sat in front of me, exactly where it should be. The food already arranged. Nothing moved, nothing missing. I sat down without pulling the chair closer. The distance stayed the same. The table edge just out of reach for a second. Then I leaned forward slightly, closed it. The fork rested to the right. The knife lined up beside it. Parallel. Even. I looked at them for a moment, then at the plate. The sauce spread more than I usually took, the portion slightly heavier on one side. I noticed it, didn't move it, didn't change anything. My hands rested on the table, not reaching yet, just placed there, waiting for something that didn't come. The room held its shape, the kitchen behind me, the table in front of me, the living room just beyond. Everything connected, everything in place. Only one thing missing, and nothing paused long enough to notice it. He used to ask, sometimes before opening the fridge, sometimes after, standing there with the door still open, cold air moving past both of us. He would pause, just for a second, Not long enough to feel like waiting, just enough for me to answer. "What do you feel like?" Or, "Do you want something light?" Sometimes he didn't finish the sentence, just looked at me, and I knew. I would step closer, lean slightly against the counter, look inside without really looking, say something, or say, "I don't know." And that was enough. He would suggest 2 or 3 things. We would land somewhere in the middle. Not exactly his, not exactly mine. Something shared. I stood at the table now, the plate already set, the chair still slightly out of line behind me. I sat without adjusting it. The distance stayed uneven. The fork rested where it had been placed. I picked it up, turned it once in my fingers, then set it back down. Not where it had been, just down. The edge of the plate caught the light from above, a thin reflection moving as I shifted slightly in my seat. I didn't take a bite yet. From the living room, the TV filled the space behind us. Voices layered over each other. A laugh cut through once, then disappeared. Too loud for this table. Too far to belong here. He sat down across from me, not directly, a little to the side. The chair legs made a soft sound against the floor, then stopped. He picked up his fork, didn't look up, didn't pause, just started. The first movement small, then steady, the same rhythm as before, even, unchanged. I watched the space between our plates, not large, not empty, just there. My hand moved toward the plate, stopped halfway, hovered, then lowered, resting near the edge instead. I could feel the place where the question used to be. Not as a thought, not as words, just a small shift in how everything started. I picked up the fork again. This time I didn't turn it. I brought it to the plate. The metal touched the surface with a light sound, then slid slightly as I pressed down. I took a bite. Didn't taste for anything. Didn't adjust what was there. Just followed what had already been set. Across from me, he continued eating. Same pace, same movement. No pause between bites. No glance upward. The table held everything in place. Plates, utensils, hands. Nothing missing. Nothing out of order. I looked at my plate again. The sauce spread into a space I usually kept clear. I noticed it, left it. The side I would normally move slightly stayed where it was, untouched. I didn't reach for anything else, didn't ask for anything different. The room continued around us. The TV voice rose again, another laugh, then quiet. The kind of quiet that wasn't empty, just filled with something else. I took another bite, then another. The rhythm matched his now, just the same. My hand rested closer to the center of the table than before, near the space between us, not touching anything, just there. I felt it again, that place where something used to happen, not loud, not important enough to notice at the time, but always there. And now, not. He stood up before I finished. The chair legs scraped lightly against the floor. A short sound. He picked up his plate, held it level as he turned. Didn't look at the table. Didn't look at me. Just walked to the sink. Set it down. Porcelain against metal. A dull contact. The faucet stayed off. The plate stayed where it landed. I was still eating, My fork paused halfway to my mouth, then lowered, touched the plate again, a soft sound. I took another bite, not because I was hungry, just continuing what had already started. The chair across from me sat empty now, slightly pushed back, not far, just enough to change the line of the table. I looked at it for a second, then back at my plate. The food had shifted slightly, one side more disturbed than the other. The part I usually saved for last sat closer to the edge. I didn't move it back, didn't adjust anything. From the living room, the TV volume rose slightly, then settled again. A voice mid-sentence, no beginning, no introduction, just continuing. I took another bite, chewed, swallowed. The fork moved in the same rhythm as before, even, steady, unchanged, but slower now, just enough to notice if you were paying attention. The glass beside my plate caught the light, a thin reflection shifting as I moved my hand. I reached for it, paused just before touching it, then picked it up, took a sip. The water cool, plain. I set it down in a different place, not where it had been, closer to the plate, not aligned with anything else. I didn't fix it. The chair across from me remained slightly out. The space it created stayed open. No one pulled it in. No one moved around it. It just held its position. I finished eating without noticing when it started to feel done. The plate sat in front of me. Not empty, not full, just still. I set the fork down, not parallel to the edge, just resting where it fell. From the sink, the plate he left hadn't moved. No water running, no sound of anything being washed, just there, waiting. I looked at it from where I sat, the light above resting across it, unbroken. I didn't stand right away. My hands rested on the table, one near the plate, one closer to the empty chair. Not reaching, not pulling away, just there. The space between them stayed the same, unfilled. I pushed my chair back slowly. No sound. It moved easily, different from the one that had scraped earlier. I noticed that. Then stood, picked up my plate, walked to the sink, set it beside his. 2 plates now, side by side, not touching. I didn't turn the water on. My hand hovered over the faucet for a second, then lowered. The sink held them, dry, still. I stepped back. The counter stretched out in front of me. The mug, the phone, each in their place, each slightly off from where they usually sat. Nothing corrected, nothing returned. I stood there for a moment longer, then turned toward the living room. Didn't say anything, didn't look back. The plates stayed where they were. The space at the table stayed open. The living room was already lit by the TV, blue light moving across the walls, shifting with each scene. He sat in his usual spot, one arm resting on the couch, remote in hand, not changing anything, just holding it. I stood at the edge of the room, not sitting yet. The table behind me still set with the empty chair slightly out. I could feel it without turning. The space it held stayed where it was, unmoved. From the screen, someone laughed. Loud, too loud for this room. The sound filled the space between us, covered it, then faded. He didn't react, didn't look over, just kept watching. I walked in slowly, steps quiet against the floor. The rug softened the sound before it could carry. I sat on the far end of the couch, not next to him, not across, just there. A small space between us. Not large, not empty. Just enough to notice if you were looking for it. My hands rested on my lap, fingers loosely interlaced, then separated, then still again. I leaned back slightly. The cushion gave under me, held my weight without shifting. The TV continued, voices overlapping, music rising underneath them. A scene building towards something. I didn't follow it. My eyes stayed on the screen, but not on anything specific. Just there. The remote clicked once. Volume adjusted slightly. Not louder, not softer, just different. He didn't look down when he pressed it, didn't check, just knew. The room settled again. Same light, same distance. I shifted once on the couch, moved my hand to the side, closer to the space between us. Stopped there. Not touching anything, not reaching, just resting on the cushion. The fabric felt warm from where it had been used. Not new, not unfamiliar, just held. I kept my hand there for a moment, then moved it back to my lap. The screen changed scenes. Different faces, different voices, same rhythm. Someone spoke quickly, another responded. The timing perfect, like it had been practiced. I watched their mouths move, didn't follow what they were saying, didn't need to. From the kitchen, the plates remained in the sink. I could still picture them, side by side, dry, unmoved. The water not running, nothing starting, nothing continuing. The table still held the empty chair, slightly out, the space unchanged. The room behind me still open. I didn't turn to look at it. I didn't need to. The shape of everything stayed clear, even without seeing it. The TV laughed again, a shorter sound this time. Then silence. Then music. He shifted slightly in his seat, adjusted his arm on the couch. The remote moved from one hand to the other. No pause, no break in the way he watched. I leaned forward just a little, rested my elbows on my knees, then leaned back again. Didn't stay in either position, just moved between them. The space between us didn't change, didn't close, didn't widen. It stayed exactly where it was, held by nothing, filled by nothing. The show continued. The room stayed. The house held its shape. Everything in place. Everything moving the way it always did. Only one thing missing. And nothing stopped long enough to notice it. The TV stayed on longer than usual. Or maybe it just felt that way. Scenes changed. Faces I didn't recognize moved in and out of the frame. Voices rose, fell, laughed, paused, started again. The room kept its rhythm without asking anything from either of us. I stood up without saying it. The cushion lifted slightly as my weight left it, then settled back. He didn't look over, didn't pause what he was watching. The light from the screen shifted across his face. Blue, then warm, then blue again. I walked back to the kitchen. The plates were still in the sink. Same position, same distance between them, not touching. I stood there for a second, looking at them, then turned to the counter. My phone lay where I left it, screen dark, face down. I picked it up, turned it over. The screen lit up slowly. Notifications stacked one above the other. Names, messages. None of them about this. I opened the takeout app. The same places appeared. Same order, same photos. I scrolled, stopped, scrolled again. My thumb slowed over one place, hovered. I could see it already. What I would order, what I would say. My thumb stayed there for a second longer, then moved. Not forward, just away. I didn't tap it, didn't say anything. The screen dimmed, then brightened again when I shifted my hand. I looked at it a moment longer, then turned it over, face down again. The counter held it without asking what I had decided. I rested my hand next to it, not touching it, just close enough to feel where it was. From the living room, another laugh. Short, sharp, then gone. The faucet caught my eye. Still. No drop forming. No sound. Just quiet. I reached for a glass, filled it halfway, water hitting the bottom with a soft, steady sound, then stopping. I set it down. Not in the center, not aligned with anything else, just placed. The light above reflected off the surface, a thin line moving as I shifted slightly. I picked it up, took a sip, set it down in a different place, closer to the edge. The base left a faint mark. I didn't wipe it. The plates remained in the sink, dry, unchanged. The space between them held. I leaned against the counter, the edge pressing lightly into my hip. Not uncomfortable, just there. My hand rested beside the phone, still face down, still quiet. I didn't turn it back over. The app stayed closed, the choice unmade. The kitchen held everything in place. The glass, the phone, the plates. Each one exactly where I had left it, each one slightly off from where it could have been. Nothing corrected, nothing returned. From the living room, the TV continued. Same volume, same distance. I didn't go back. I stayed where I was. The counter cool under my hand, the room quiet around me. Not empty, still quiet. I stayed there a little longer than I needed to, my hand resting on the counter, not moving. The edge pressed lightly into my palm. I didn't pull away. The glass sat where I left it, half full, the surface still. No movement until I shifted slightly, then a small ripple, then still again. From the living room, the TV carried on. Voices I didn't follow. A rhythm that didn't belong to this room. I didn't turn to look at it. I didn't need to. I could feel where everything was. The couch, the table, the empty chair, still slightly out, still holding the same space it had all evening. My fingers pressed once against the counter, then relaxed. A small movement, barely there. I didn't remember the last time he asked. Not clearly. No moment I could point to. No night that stood out. But my body did. The way I stayed in one place a little longer than needed. The way I didn't sit right away. The way my hand rested on the edge of something, like there was still one more step before anything began. I felt it now, that same pause. Still here, only empty. I shifted my weight slightly, from one foot to the other, then back again. The movement small, unnoticed, unless you were inside it. I looked at the counter, at the phone, at the glass, each one where I had left it, each one holding its place without asking anything. I didn't reach for them, didn't move any of them closer. The space between objects stayed the same, unchanged. I could feel where something used to happen, not in words, not in sound, just in the way things paused before continuing, the way nothing moved until it did. That moment was still there. I was standing inside it now, only nothing was coming next. My hand lifted slightly from the counter, hovered just above it, then lowered again, the contact soft, familiar. I didn't step away, didn't move forward. I stayed in the same place, like my body hadn't been told it could do something else. From the living room, a louder voice cut through once, then faded. The sound didn't reach me fully, it stayed in the other room. I picked up the glass, took a sip, set it down in a new spot, not where it had been, not centered, just down. The ring it left behind overlapped the earlier one. The shapes didn't match. I didn't adjust it. I looked at it for a second, then away. The phone remained face down, silent, unmoved, the screen dark beneath it. I rested my hand beside it, close, but not touching. The air between my fingers and the surface felt still, held. I stayed there a moment longer, then stepped back. Not far, just enough to feel the distance change. The counter in front of me, the room behind. Everything in place, everything continuing. Only that one space still open, still waiting, and nothing arriving to fill it. I didn't open anything else. I turned the phone face down again, set it a little farther from where it had been. Not aligned with the edge, just placed. My hand stayed next to it, palm resting on the counter, the surface cool, still. From the living room, the TV continued, a voice rising into a question, another voice answering quickly, too quickly. The timing already set, already known. I didn't follow it. The sound stayed in the other room. I picked up the glass, took a sip, set it down in a different spot, closer to the edge now. The base left another faint ring, crossing the others. No pattern, no order. I didn't wipe them. The plates in the sink remained untouched, two shapes side by side, light resting across both of them, unbroken. The faucet still off, no movement, no sound. I looked at them for a moment, then back to the counter, the phone, the glass, the space between them. Everything exactly where I left it, everything slightly off from where it could have been. I leaned against the counter again, the edge pressing lightly into my side. My hand rested beside the phone, close enough to reach, not touching. I could feel the place where something almost happened, still there. Still shaped the same way, just not taken. From the living room, another laugh. Short, then gone. The room held its quiet. Not empty, still quiet. The sink held the plates exactly where we left them. Two shapes side by side, dry, unmoved. I stood in front of them for a moment. Not reaching, just looking. From the living room, the TV continued. Same volume, same distance. He was still there. I could hear the shift of the couch once, then still again. I picked up my plate, turned it slightly in my hands, set it back down in the same place. Not washed, not moved, just handled and returned. I stepped back from the sink. The counter spread out in front of me. The phone, the glass, each one where I had left it, each one holding its place without asking to be moved. I rested my hand on the counter, fingers light against the surface, not pressing, not gripping, just there. From the living room, a pause, then a voice, then another, the rhythm unchanged. I turned slightly, not fully, just enough to see the edge of the room, the couch, the light from the TV moving across it, his shape in the same position, one arm resting where it had been, the remote still in his hand. I looked away first, back to the sink, the plates still dry, still side by side, not touching. The faucet unchanged, no water, no sound. I stepped a little closer to the counter. My hand moved toward the phone, stopped just before touching it, hovered, then lowered to the side instead. The glass caught the light again, a thin reflection shifting as I moved. I picked it up, took a sip, set it down in a new place, another ring forming underneath, overlapping the others, not aligned. I didn't wipe it. The room held everything in place. The counter, the sink, the living room just beyond. Each space connected, each one continuing without pause. I leaned against the counter again, the edge pressing lightly into my hip. The same place as before, the same position. Nothing changed. Nothing needed to. From the living room, the TV volume shifted once, a small adjustment, then steady again. He didn't call out, didn't say anything, didn't ask if I was coming back. I stayed where I was, the counter cool under my hand, the sink holding the plates, the space between them unchanged. I looked at it for a moment, then stepped back. Not far, just enough to feel the distance. The kitchen held its quiet, not empty, still quiet. The space where something might have been said stayed open, unfilled. Morning came before the alarm. The light was already there, soft, gray, not fully morning yet. The coffee machine had started on its own, a low hum carrying through the kitchen. I walked in without turning on the light. The counter held everything where it had been left. The glass, the phone, the faint ring still visible if you looked long enough. Nothing wiped, nothing reset. The sink still held the plates side by side, dry, unmoved. The coffee finished brewing. A soft click, then stillness. Steam rose in thin lines above the pot. I stepped closer, reached for a mug. Not the one I usually chose first, just the one closest to my hand. I filled it, the liquid dark, even, the surface barely moving. I set it down on the counter. Not in the usual place, a few inches off. The base left a faint circle. I didn't wipe it. From the hallway, a door opened, then closed. Footsteps crossing the floor. Even, unhurried. He moved through the kitchen without stopping. Opened a cabinet, closed it, reached for something without looking. Set it down. Another plate, another glass. The motions the same. Nothing missing, nothing added. The coffee sat between us, steam rising, then fading. He didn't look over, didn't ask what I wanted, just made something, set it down on the table, the same way he had the night before. Placed, not adjusted, not checked, just there. I stood at the counter, my hand resting beside the mug, the heat spreading slowly into my palm. I didn't pick it up right away. From the living room, the TV turned on again, a voice already mid-sentence. No beginning, no introduction, just continuing. The same rhythm as the night before. I picked up the mug, took a sip, set it down in a different place. Another ring forming over the others. No pattern, no alignment. I didn't fix it. The sink remained unchanged. The plates still there, still dry, still waiting for something that hadn't started. He sat at the table. The chair pulled out, then pushed in again. A soft scrape. Then still. He picked up his fork, started eating. No pause, no glance toward the counter, no question waiting to be answered. I stayed where I was, the mug in front of me, the counter under my hand, the space between steps still there, still shaped the same way. Only nothing came next. I took another sip, the coffee slightly cooler now. I swallowed, set the mug down a few inches away, not where it had been, just down. The ring it left behind crossed the others at a different angle. I watched it for a moment, then looked away. The morning moved forward without waiting. Everything in place, everything continuing, the same, close enough. I opened the fridge. The light came on the same way it always did, cold air moving past my hands. Shelves lined up, containers stacked, labels turned in different directions. Nothing new, nothing missing. I stood there without reaching in. My hand rested on the inside of the door, fingers curled slightly around the edge, not holding it, just there. The air brushed past my wrist, cool, steady. I didn't move anything, didn't take anything out, just looked, like something was still supposed to happen first. The kind of moment that used to sit between opening and choosing. I stayed inside it a second longer, then another. Nothing came. From behind me, a cabinet door opened, then closed. Footsteps moved across the kitchen, even, unhurried, the same as every morning. He passed just behind me, close enough that I could feel the shift in the air. Not close enough to touch. He reached over my shoulder, took something from the top shelf, didn't stop, didn't pause, didn't ask, just moved through the space like it had already been decided. I stayed where I was, the fridge still open, the light still on, the air still moving. My hand didn't change position, didn't tighten, didn't pull away, just stayed. He stepped back. The space behind me opened again. Footsteps moved away, toward the table, toward the next thing. I could hear the chair shift, a soft scrape, then still. The fork touched the plate, a familiar sound, even, steady, unchanged. I looked at the shelf in front of me, at the container I usually moved first, the one I adjusted before anything else. I didn't touch it, didn't move it forward, didn't check what was behind it. I just looked, then blinked. The light felt brighter for a second, then settled. I closed the fridge. The door pulled in with a soft seal. The light disappeared. The kitchen dimmed slightly. I stood there with my hand still resting where the handle had been, fingers hovering just above it now, then lowered, to my side. I turned toward the table, the plate already there, the food already set. Nothing moved, nothing waiting, just placed. He sat in the same position, the fork moving in the same rhythm as before. I didn't step forward right away. I stood near the counter. The space between where I was and where I would sit held for a moment, then passed. I walked over, pulled out a chair, not the same one as last night, not the one that stayed slightly out, a different one. It moved easily, no sound. I sat, the plate in front of me, the food unchanged, the room the same, only that one moment no longer there to begin it. I picked up the fork, didn't pause, didn't wait, just started. The rhythm matched his again, even, steady, unasked, unnoticed. The space closed without needing to be filled. The kitchen held its shape, the table, the counter, the sink, everything in place. Nothing changed. The plates still there from earlier. Another one added. 3 now, side by side, not touching. The faucet still off. No water running. No movement starting. The mug sat near the edge of the counter. Handle turned away. The faint rings underneath, crossing each other without lining up. The phone rested beside it, screen dark, face down. I stood in the same place as the night before, my hand resting on the counter, fingers light against the surface, not pressing, not reaching, just there. From the living room, the TV continued. Same volume, same distance. Voices rising, then fading. Laughter that didn't stay. The house moved forward without stopping. Everything continuing the way it always did. Close enough. I looked at the counter, at the mug, at the phone, at the space between them. Only something not there anymore. Not taken, not moved, just gone. I didn't turn toward the living room, didn't say anything, didn't pick up the phone, didn't move the mug. My hand stayed where it was, the counter cool under my palm. The air still, held. The space where the question used to be stayed open. I stood there for a moment longer, not moving, just there. I didn't fill it. The TV continued in the other room. The plates remained in the sink. The water still off. The house quiet. Not empty, still quiet.